All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL props video. Going to be breaking down the top prop bets for week 2 here of the NFL season on Sunday. Let's go ahead and get into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go game by game and give you guys the top prop bets, but I always like to start off with a game preview as well. So we got this game between the Dolphins and the Patriots, a game that's pretty much a toss. 1.5 point favorites are the Dolphins. I kind of like the Patriots in this game. And looking at the game total, it's about 43 or so points. So kind of a lower scoring game there in general. And really, to me, some of the best prop bets we are getting in this game are going to be in favor of the Patriots. And what we're going to notice is kind of right away, we are getting some pretty good fantasy score prop bets for Hunter Henry and Diggs as well. I'm fine with both of those prop bets. Both of them played, Hunter Henry played a lot of snaps, like 90% of the snaps, whereas Diggs was limited in his first game, kind of being back from injury. I kind of expect him to get an expanded role. So those are two bets we could definitely target. But with Hunter Henry, you could also just target his over receiving yards there of 33.5. We also have Keyshawn Boutte here for over his receiving yards of 39.5 on Prize Picks. This is a bet where if it's available on other sites, I do like it. I also think we could go with his over 3.5 receptions as well. I kind of like that actually for both Diggs and also Boutte. And so when we look at his receptions line, obviously the last 5 games doesn't really matter for him. He's on a new team with the Patriots. He is expected to eventually kind of be the receiver number 1 for the squad. And I do like the target share that he got. I think the snaps are going to go up as well. But overall, his route share was up as well in regards to like his total snaps. It was a big difference. So he ran like about 70% of the snaps in the passing game, but only about 58% total in the game. And so both of those are numbers that could eventually go up. And so that's where I like him. But I also like the idea of getting a Keyshawn Boutte here as well, who I mentioned a decent amount here. He is and has been the receiver number 1 for a little bit here as well. Last year at the end of the year, people didn't want to believe it, and I get why, and it was something I wasn't really buying into as well at the start of the season. I kind of mentioned in passing a little bit that I thought it was strange that we weren't like drafting him at all in like best ball drafts, even though like the camp reports kept suggesting that he was playing well. And so last week's results were not too shocking to me. His snap share, his targets, and his receptions, 6 receptions in that game. And sure, we would want this game to be higher scoring, but overall, I think this is a very good plus money bet that you guys can make not only on Prize Picks and Underdog, but other sites as well. 3.5 receptions. I feel pretty good about that one. Obviously, when we're chasing a demon, that's going to decrease our likelihood of hitting those, but I think this is a spot where Vegas is not properly respecting his role right now with the Patriots. Now, the flip side of that is Demario Douglas also played a bunch of snaps. Maybe he gets more involved as well, which could end up happening there as well. But for now, I do think we kind of trust the trust that him and Drake May have together. Now, when we look at the Dolphins, there really isn't much that I like. If you guys want to bet like Tua for under his fantasy score on Underdog, you can. I mean, there's just not much that I like here. So yeah, let's just go ahead and jump on into the next game. And so we go ahead and jump on into the next game that I'm going to cover. We got the Niners versus the Saints. And I will say I'm a little bit shocked that the Niners are 3-point favorites in this game over the Saints just because of how banged up the Niners are. Mac Jones is going to be the starting quarterback for them. Jawan Jennings is probably going to sit in this game as well. They were forced to sign Kendrick Bourne. And then you also have George Kittle out. Basically, all of your top players are sitting, minus like Ricky Pearsall and CMC. And the Saints weren't terrible. Okay, the game total in this game is kind of higher than I thought, 40.5 points on average. So not exactly a game where we would like want to target overs per se, but it's not too egregiously ugly or one-sided where we have to avoid the game either or do like game script bets. And so again, just kind of looking at the board that we have using the Prize Picks cheat sheet right now, no real good bets on paper, okay, for the Saints. And also the Niners as it currently sits in regards to like standard prop bets that we were getting. Now, I will say this bet that we were getting with CMC with his rush yards, I could see betting the under on. And to me, this is a little bit of recency bias with the lines that he's had. Like he has not gotten this over in 5 straight games. And I know he's going to get a ton of work in this game, but at the same time, maybe they go to Brian Robinson Jr. He was actually a little bit more involved than I thought he would have been last week, considering that he hasn't been with the team that long. And we might see CMC and Brian Thomas Jr. on the field together a decent amount as well, just due to necessity because they don't have playmakers. And you look at the matchup with the Saints, like, yeah, let's have Mac Jones beat us. 9 in the box, a bunch is kind of the defense. 8 in the box is what they should be doing against the Niners. Okay, so the Saints were pretty solid last week defensively as well. So I do like him to get under his 81.5 rush yards there as well. And then I do want to talk about Ricky Pearsall as well, because he is someone that I do think is going to be more involved in the game plan. There's a lot of people that are trying to kind of make up their own stats, I guess, for lack of a better term. I don't know if you guys ever watch like CBS Fantasy Football or listen to their podcast. It's like the Eisner stat, I think is what they call it. But basically, people are trying to be like, well, Mac Jones with Brian Thomas Jr., really, unlike Brian Thomas Jr. And now that's going to be Ricky Pearsall. That's in the Brian Thomas Jr. role, even though it's like a completely different system and offense and whatnot. There is some reason to believe something like that could happen, though, just because he is definitely going to be the receiver number one. He's going to get a high target share. Like, the offense is going to somewhat revolve around him this weekend and for the foreseeable future, it seems like as well. 4.5 receptions is a pretty low line. The Saints defense did look good, though. So I don't mind his over 4.5 receptions. I also don't mind his over receiving yards as well. I think both are viable options. Maybe he does get a little bit more air yards with Mac Jones, but who knows? It is a pretty significant quarterback downgrade to Mac Jones from Brock Purdy. And so I like betting on Pearsall because he's going to have an expanded role theoretically, but he already had that role already, and it is a quarterback downgrade. So that kind of negates it anyways. But I wouldn't talk you guys out of a bet if you guys were trying to get to Pearsall as well. I like the Christian McCaffrey bet better. Really up to you guys. All right, so let's go ahead now and get into the next game. We got the Jaguars versus the Bengals, and this game is a little bit shocking to me. Jaguars are only 3.5-point favorites, and if we look at the game total as well, very high-scoring game, 49 points total. And the issue that I have with this game is I wasn't able to really find any bets that I like. Now, if we look at the board that we were getting, the best bet that we were getting in this game is actually Mike Gesicki for over his fantasy score, and this is a bet that I do not like because his role was actually pretty limited. Noah Fant was kind of the pass catching tight end, which you would actually expect. Fant is a better talent than Gesicki, and Drew Sample was actually the tight end that got the most snaps as well, which makes sense. He's more of a run blocker there as well. And so I'm staying away from that one. And then from there, we're going to notice we are getting limited amount of good bets. Now, if you want to bet Jamar Chase to maybe score a touchdown in a game stack, you could. That's really my idea with this game is like you could do a bunch of like game stacks where you are agreeing that this game's going to be higher scoring. And so you are just doing a bunch of over bets in this game. If we were trying to find some bets in this game to bet on, I think Brenton Strange for over 3.5 receptions is a bet that I don't mind. Trevor Lawrence seems to like him. Now, last week he only had like 4 targets in that game, but his role was kind of what you would expect him to be. And so I could see getting to that in a higher scoring game where maybe it does end up being more of a shootout in a pass heavy script. I don't mind that. And I will say, I really don't mind the Travis Etienne bet that we were getting here as well. Over 56.5 rush yards. And it's kind of just rooted in two things. So the Jaguars got rid of Tank Bigsby. They traded him to the Eagles. The Eagles need to do that because, well, Will Shipley got injured. And so a lot of people are hyping up Baishal Tootin there, which we'll see. He got outsnapped by Allen, it seems like pass catching down back. But Etienne got a pretty substantial role in last week's game. 19 total opportunities is pretty huge. And he is someone that is more of a big play maker. And if you're telling me that this game's going to be higher scoring, I think there's a good chance that he's able to get his over rush yards here as well. Both those bets in this game are bets where like I'm fine with them, but they're not necessarily bets I need to go out of my way to target. I did want to mention them though. If anyone else likes them, maybe they can agree with that. Or obviously, as always, the opposite. If you guys ever disagree with any of my takes pretty adamantly, you can always do the opposite of those bets and takes. All right, so now we go ahead and get into the Steelers versus the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 3-point dogs in this game. Looking at the game total, another pretty low scoring game. And so Vegas is kind of thinking the Pittsburgh defense against the Jets was kind of an aberration. They're going to play a lot better is what we're going to see there. And I think that might be rooted in the Seahawks offense also really not looking that good last week as well when they probably should have. And again, just looking at the prize picks cheat sheet here, some of the better bets in this game are the fantasy score ones. Cooper Kupp to get over 7.5 for his fantasy score is definitely an interesting bet. You would expect him to get a little bit more work. He did have a bad drop in that game last week. Kenneth Walker with the prop line difference is a little bit interesting. You would expect his role to expand a little bit more this week as well. But really, I want to concentrate on some of the Saints pass catchers. And the reason why I want to talk about these ones is because we should expect kind of a pass-heavy script here for the Saints still. And last week that happened as well. They were playing from behind a bunch still last week, even more so than really what we should be expecting this week. To the point where Olave, Shaheed, and Juwan Johnson all got a bunch of targets and a bunch of work. That is something that is not going to be sustainable. Now, the bet that I actually like the most in this game, and it's a bet that I will be trying to target, is Juwan Johnson to get over 3.5 receptions. Okay. Over the last 3 games of Spencer Rattler are the last 3 games that are displayed there. He's had 8, 6, and 6 targets. He played all but 1 snap last week because, well, he kind of needed to. They're banged up at the tight end position. It's not crazy for Juwan Johnson to kind of have a breakout finally. I kind of thought it would happen last year. That did not occur. It did occur at the tail end of the season 2 years ago. He is a former receiver as well, and it just seems like him and Spencer Rattler are vibing pretty well here. And so I do like him to get over 3.5 receptions here. And again, guys, I'm fine with that. All right, quick apologies, guys. I realized I kind of messed up 2 segments there, but I did want to talk about the Juwan Johnson one. Let's go ahead and now get into the Steelers. There's one bet that I really like for the Steelers. All right, so the bet that I like here for the Steelers game is going to be Calvin Austin to get over 3.5 receptions. I was actually a little bit surprised kind of by the lack of love that he was getting in like best ball drafts throughout the offseason, because I'm like, it's pretty clear that he's going to be the receiver number 2 like he was last year for the Steelers for, a majority of the season. And the question was just how many snaps would he play, because we were expecting a lot of 12 personnel there for the Steelers. And the question is, would they resort to more of a bigger receiver on the outside then? That did not happen, guys. He played in 80% of the snaps and 85% of the passing down plays as well. Had 4 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown. He ended up with 6 targets on that game with a 20% target share. And so it's not a lock and load for him to get over his receptions of 3.5 receptions, but it's not terrible there as well. Okay, I do think if you want to bet him to get over 2.5 receptions, that should be a very good bet. And I'm fine taking the increased payout with the increased risk of it missing at 3.5 receptions there as well. Obviously, that's really comes down to you guys and kind of what you're trying to do with your bets and everything like that, and kind of your strategy. But I did want to call that one out. And now we go ahead and get into the Ravens versus the Browns. So the one thing I want to point out here is going to be the point spread, okay? About 12 points, okay? The Ravens are favored by like 12 points. The game total is also, not terrible, 44.5 points. But obviously with that game total, what are we expecting? A very heavy run script for the Ravens, especially towards the tail end of the game, and then a little bit more of a pass-heavy script for the for the Cleveland Browns. And so now we go ahead and take a peek at the best bets that we're getting here. David Njoku for over his fantasy score is one of the better plus EV bets that we are getting. If you guys like that, you can roll with it. I will have some action on it, but I won't go crazy with it. He is still going to be heavily involved. A lot of people are hyping up Fannin, their rookie tight end as well. He was heavily involved. The thing with the Cleveland Browns is they kind of showed us in the preseason that they're going to try to get their younger players more involved. I don't know what that really means, though, for the veterans like Njoku. I still think he's going to be a prominent factor in this offense. So if you guys want to roll with him, you certainly can. The bet that I actually like the most, and I'm happy that we're slightly being told to bet the over here, is Cedric Tillman to get over 4 receptions. Okay, game script-wise, it makes sense. So they're going to be playing from behind a bunch, so they're going to have to throw the football a little bit more. The issue with it on PrizePicks is obviously it's a plus EV bet at 3.5 receptions. So again, if you guys are someone that bets elsewhere and you're okay with taking a slightly, non-standard payout, that's fine. 3.5 receptions, I think, ends up being a pretty good bet. But I like the fact that on PrizePicks at 4, it still has a 52% chance to get the over. And I do want to call out kind of his role. So he had 5 receptions last week, guys, 8 targets, 52 receiving yards as well. Both him and Judy basically played identical snaps, about 80% snap share and about 82% route share as well. So very good stuff there. And again, it should be a run-heavy script. And then obviously with it being a game that is expected to be a run-heavy script, with them being 11-point favorites, Derrick Henry to get over his rush yards is not a terrible bet. We do see his last game against the Browns as well. He went for 138 rush yards. The issue with Derrick Henry, as always, is that he just doesn't play that much, especially if it's a blowout. He might end up being limited. The flip side of that is if it's a blowout, he's going to be a big reason as to why. So very two-sided there with the take, but I do like it. I do like it in a game site there with Tillman as well. It's really up for you guys to decide, but I did want to call that bet out. It does seem like a pretty good bet for us on this slate as well. All right, so jumping on into the next game, we have the Bears versus the Lions. Okay, so both teams that were pretty disappointing last week. Now, I think the conclusion that we have after the Thursday night football game is that the Packers are just a great team, whereas the Lions are still trying to figure things out with their offensive coordinator being gone and actually being the head coach there for the Chicago Bears, and their defensive coordinator also being gone there as well. They got off to a slow start. Their starters did not really participate in the preseason as well. So it's kind of no shot that they did get off to a slow start. I actually called out that I think the Bears are going to cover at 6.5 points. That was a bet that I didn't mind. But we look at the game total, decently high scoring game of 46.5 points. And we go ahead and take a peek again at the cheat sheet here. Nothing too crazy in terms of bets that we want to be targeting. Worth calling out the DJ Moore prop line difference between PrizePicks and Underdog as it currently sits. I do think some people are going to get to Caleb Williams for over 4.5 rush attempts. That's not a terrible bet. I think I'd be fine with that one as well. But really, to me, I think one of the better spots we are getting in this game is actually with Rome Odunze to get over 4 receptions in this game. I was actually pretty surprised by how involved he was in that game. Last week, I kind of thought DJ Moore would be more the receiver one, and he kind of was, but he also was used in the backfield a lot, as we expected. But I thought there'd be more design plays to DJ Moore in the receiving game. We actually saw it happen for Odunze a little bit. So Odunze played 94% of the snaps, 92% route share, or passing down snap share there, had 6 receptions, only 37 yards, but had 9 targets. He had 26% target share. Okay, so given this game against Detroit where they are, expected to lose, and it's supposed to be a high-scoring game, I think this is a bet that makes sense. So although I wasn't all too impressed with him, it still is not a bad one there. And then we go ahead and take a peek here at Zacchaeus as well. So Zacchaeus was someone I thought would have the game that he basically had on Monday Night Football. But when I looked over the stats, I was a little bit surprised that he did not play as much. So he only played 44% of the snaps, but he did play in 59% of the passing down plays. So that is encouraging there. He ended up with 7 targets on the game as well, 4 receptions, 442 receiving yards. And so again, just if it ends up being more of a pass-heavy script, I do think that's going to benefit him. He is someone that at the start of the game got a lot of work, and then the Bears just kind of crumbled. And so it's whether or not Ben Johnson's going to show up is really what it comes down to. He has mentioned that he's probably going to get like Kyle Monangai a little bit more work in the running game. We'll see if that ends up happening. They did kind of abandon the run a little bit there as well, but very encouraging for both of those. I think these are both 2 pretty good edges for us. For Detroit, I didn't really see anything that I liked for them. All their lines basically seem correct. So now we go ahead and take a peek at the Bills versus the Jets. The Bills are rightfully, I think, going to be 6.5 point favorites in this game. And then the game total as well, 46.5 points. So a pretty high scoring game there as well. Now, the issue that I have with the Jets specifically in this game is we really don't know what to expect. Breece Hall looked pretty good. Garrett Wilson, I thought, had a great game, but like how sustainable is that? Justin Fields, we know, is just like a streaky fantasy producer. A lot of people are probably going to target like some rush stats for him. I don't see any really good bets there for the Jets. So there is one bet though that I like for the Bills. But let's take a peek at some of the bets that we are getting here, guys. Like Josh Palmer to get over 2.5 receptions is not a terrible bet. That's a bet that I can get behind. The issue becomes is that they are 6.5 point favorites. How much are they really going to have to throw the football? Which is why this other bet that I like as well is a bet that I would not suggest on Prize Picks or Underdog, but it is a bet that I would like elsewhere where you're going to get, a bump in your payout for chasing a bet like this. And so like if you're someone that's betting on a site like Sleeper, that's actually a bet that I like there. And so if you're betting on a site like Sleeper, guys, here are some of the promos and discounts that they have going on. Personally, I really only like targeting the discounts there. Just take the money that they're trying to give at you or give to you, throughout the season. That's going to end up being a profitable approach for you. So if you want to attach Shakir for over 4.5 receptions to that, I don't mind that. It is worth calling out that if you guys are playing on Sleeper for the first time, sign up for the first time, use the promo code 9TO5. It's a simple and easy way to help with the channel. They do kick back money to me when you guys do that. And you guys will also get $50 when you spend your first $5. That's actually the same for Prize Picks as well. If you guys have never played on Prize Picks, same on Better as well. And then Underdog, the promo code's a little bit different, but they also had the same deal going on. The promo code's 925 spelt out. Links to those are in the description below. Again, if you guys use that is greatly appreciated. But let's go ahead and get back into the picks. And so we go ahead now and get into the Giants versus the Cowboys here. This is a game that is a 5.5 or so point spread in favor of the Cowboys winning, which is a little bit surprising, but at the same time not, because the Cowboys were impressive. They were really one CeeDee Lamb drop away from winning that game. It seemed like not exactly fair to Eagles fans there. I get that, but a lot of you guys get the point there. Game total 44.5 points, which for the Giants does feel a little bit high. Again, they did not look as bad as their offensive score suggested, but they did not look good. That's not to say they look good. But given this point spread that we have where they are going to be, almost a touchdown dog in this game, the bet that I like kind of the most in this game would be Wan'Dale Robinson to get over 4.5 receptions. Okay, again, this is a demon bet there on Prize Picks, so a bet where it's going to be an increased payout really everywhere there. If you want to take him at 3.5, you can. So the question for me was kind of would his role stay the same or not with Russell Wilson at quarterback, and it did. Okay, and so he had 8 targets, 6 receptions for 55 yards last week. He played in 76% of the snaps, which is pretty encouraging. Again, it was more of a pass-heavy script, but that's also what we're expecting here. 82% snap share on those passing down plays as well. So also encouraging there. That's another bet, plus money bet that I don't mind. And then guys, just a quick FYI, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. If you guys would like access to any of the tools that you have seen throughout this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com, get access to all those tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. But let's get back into the picks. All right, so for the Carolina Panthers, I do think we are going to get a couple of interesting prop bets. Now, I was a little bit surprised that this game was projected to be as close as it is, 3.5 points for the Falcons. A little bit shocked by that. We look at the game total, 44.5 points or so on average there as well. Again, apologies for that, guys. That was a game that's a little bit later on. We got the Cardinals versus the Panthers. So slightly different. Apologies for that. 6.5 point favorites. Okay, this makes more sense. The Panthers are 6.5 point dogs. Okay, and so that makes more sense. Game total wise as well, 44.5 points still there. So apologies for that, but I do think this leads to more of a pass-heavy script for the Panthers, obviously, which kind of means two things. I kind of like some of the bets that we were getting for Bryce Young rushing the football. The one thing I was looking for in week 1 with him was I was looking for him to play a little bit better, but he wasn't terrible. It's not as bad as the stats would suggest, but I was looking to see if he would rush the football more. I don't understand why he's not Justin Fields-ish, if that makes sense. He should have more designed rushes. He should look to rush the football as well because he is a pretty darn good rusher when he does that. And so I don't mind the idea of him getting over 15.5 rush yards, especially in the sense that this game could be a blowout, which could lead to softer coverage, which could lead to him tucking the football and running the football a little bit more. And another bet that like coincides with that, and I think I like the rush yards more, but you could do over 3.5 rush attempts. And then another plus money bet that I don't mind is Xavier Legette. He did have a pretty substantial role in that game in terms of snaps. Again, if they're playing from behind, he should really be able to get over 3.5 receptions. Obviously, we don't like the game log there, but with them being pretty banged up at the receiver spot, they're still thin there. That's a bet that I don't mind. And then I am going to skip over the Rams-Tennessee game. It felt like I'd be forcing any bets that I thought were decent, but it felt too much like I was forcing them. So I didn't want to give those to you guys. So the last game is going to be the Colts versus the Broncos. Kind of a toss-up. Broncos are 1.5 point favorites. Looking at the game total, 43.5 points. So nothing too crazy there. The one bet that I like in this game is actually going to be Sutton to get over 4.5 receptions. On Prize Picks, it's going to be 5. I think that has a great chance to be a push. He's been the receiver number 1. Bo Nix looks to him a bunch. Maybe the Colts defense looks a little bit worse this week. I doubt it, but I think there's a great chance that he does get to 5 receptions. Again, I like it more as a 4.5 receptions bet there. Very consistent role for him. Targets will be there. It's just whether or not Bo Nix is having a good game or not. And so we're about to get into the bet of the day. But again, guys, leave a like on the video before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so before. If you guys would like access to any of the tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all the tools on the website for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Now, let's go ahead and get into the bets of the day for Sunday. So again, guys, it is worth calling out this Khalil Shakir bet. I do like elsewhere. Okay, not exactly a Prize Picks prop bet. That's because we are being told to bet the under. The under has about a 52% chance of hitting per Vegas odds. And so that's typically not a bet that I like to encourage on Prize Picks or Underdog, where the name of the game is chasing standard prop bets typically to get those plus EV bets to give us that long-term return in terms of profit. The rest of the bets, we are getting some, demon bets that are just plus money bets that you guys can make elsewhere. Jawan Johnson, I like to get over 3.5 receptions. Roma Dunze, again, I think he's going to be involved. And then Stephon Diggs, I think he's going to play a little bit more in this game. Thus, I like him to get over 4 receptions. And then 2 more that I like as well. Obviously, Zacchaeus to get over 23.5 receiving yards, as I mentioned, and then Robinson to get over 4.5 receptions there as well. Now, this video is designed to be more of, just my favorite prop bets on the week that we are getting just in general. I do want to call it that the 9to5 cheat sheet for Prize Picks and Underdog is set up to show us the best bets on those specific sites as well. So I mentioned there's a bunch of fantasy score prop bets. Do not be ignoring them. If you guys are a 9to5 member and we're seeing some of those plus EV bets pop up, definitely target those ones as well. This isn't like an exclusion of those bets. These are more bets that are generally shaped for like everyone that's placing bets for Sunday in the NFL. But that's going to do it for this video. I do appreciate you being here, guys. Again, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. That is always appreciated. Again, if you guys are looking to play on some of the other sites, other prop sites that you have never signed up for before, make sure to use the links in the description below. Links below are for Better, Sleeper, Underdog, and Prize Picks. If you guys would like access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get them for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. That's going to be all. Thank you for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.